Hi, fun friends. Get ready. I'm live wired tonight because I am on my soapbox. I have some stuff to say tonight, and we're going to get right into it because I am so mad, frustrated, annoyed, all the things about this whole thing going on with the woke Disney princesses, the actresses who play them. I'm coming after everybody tonight. I'm coming after Disney. I'm coming after Cinderella. I'm coming after Jasmine, Ariel. Who else am I coming after? I'm coming after, of course, Snow White, because she's the one who's got me the most pissed off. All of them. And it could be anybody else. I'm coming after Elizabeth Swann. I knew she wasn't even a princess, but I'm coming after her too, because all of them, with the exception of Elle Fanning playing Aurora, have been really pissing me off lately, and all this nonsense that they're talking. It's like they haven't even ever seen one of the original Cinderellas before. I'm coming after Cinderella too. So let's kind of get right into it. Let's talk a little bit first about the stories, about the Disney stories. To begin with, Cinderella, according to Keira Knightley, is off limits to her daughter.
Cinderella banned because, you know, she waits around for a rich guy to rescue her. Don't rescue yourself, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, and the reason she's off limits to her daughter is because Keira Knightley thinks that Cinderella was looking for a rich man to save her. Cinderella wanted to go to a party. She was in indentured servitude to her stepmother and was dressed in rags and kept in the basement. And she dreamed of going out and to the ball and to having a dance and a social life and being pretty one night. She dreamed of having that. She didn't meet the prince until she went to the ball, and then she left at midnight, and she left him behind. She didn't give him her name or anything. She just took off. So that's that theory out the window. The fact that she met somebody and happened to fall in love with him, okay, let's pretend like we don't all want that, right? Okay, so the next one I'm coming after is Ariel. Now, Ariel, when the new live action came out, I was pretty psyched to see it. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it made a lot of sense because all the Disney Little Mermaid is based in the Caribbean, so it makes sense to have a girl of color playing that role. You know, it was a great movie. I had no issues with it. I had no issues with her. Then
Little Mermaid. I mean, the songs are great, but do not give your voice up for a man. Hello?
All they're saying is what their publicists and pimps are telling them to say in Hollywood. So, you know, as far as Ariel goes, and you'll hear, I even heard, who is it? The one who played in Frozen. I heard her, Adina, I forget her last name. Anyway, she was talking crap about Ariel.
I don't like that Ariel gives up her voice for the man in Little Mermaid, so I have a problem with Disney.
She let a man take her voice. No man took her voice. Ursula the Sea Witch took her voice. She wanted to be a human being. Her husband didn't tell her to take a voice. She willingly gave up her voice. So she sacrificed something so that she could become a human being. And she figured, I'll get it back because I'm all that, and the prince loves me, and I'll get a kiss and I'll get my voice back. She wasn't the smartest girl to do that, and trust the Sea Witch that her daddy warned her about. But it had nothing to do with giving her voice up for a man. She gave her voice up so she could become human and do all the things. And she also happened to fall in love with this guy. So let's talk about that as well. Let's say she did give her voice up for the man. How many women have given up their virginity for a man? Oh, that's not worse? No? Okay. So, you know, don't talk to me about the things that we sacrifice. How many women sacrifice themselves in Hollywood to Harvey Weinstein? And Keira Knightley was probably one of them because I've seen her pictured with him many, many times. You know, so now let's talk about that because, you know, I have something to say about all of it. Keira Knightley, in addition to the whole Cinderella things, she's come out recently talking all this crap about how she was over-sexualized in Pirates of the Caribbean. Oh, yeah, she was. And she was really good at it, too. But she made that choice. She was 17 years old. When I was 17 years old, I knew that I wasn't rubbing up on dirty old men, and I knew that I wasn't going to take roles in Hollywood. And yes, I did work in Hollywood for a while. I knew I wasn't taking roles in Hollywood that were things that I was going to be ashamed of for my children to see later. or whatever it is. At the same time, she had a mama to protect her. So what happened there? So we're going to blame Disney. We're going to blame the producers of Pirates of the Caribbean because you played a role real well at 17 on how to be sexualized with the 23-year-old man. That's all on you, my dear. That is all on you. I said what I said. And let's just talk about the history of the fairy tales for a minute here. If I know that this is fiction, obviously, but these fairy tales were written a long time ago. There's history associated with these, and you can't turn every single woman character into a sword swinging knight in shining armor. That's what they're doing. They're trying to turn the women in these videos and these movies are trying to turn the princesses into the knights in shining armor. Okay, you want a princess who's a knight in shining armor? Give her her own movie. I'm seeing a trend in Hollywood with a lot of these, ever since sort of this whole Me Too movement came out, which is fine. I get that. Yeah, people that are predators should be exposed in Hollywood. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that there's a lot of those women, and I know because I worked in Hollywood, I worked in casting, I worked for Playboy, I did all kinds of stuff that I did, when I was out there. A lot of those women that are so virtuous now are being this way because they knew that they made choices in the past that maybe they regret now. Maybe they're mothers now, or maybe they can't get those parts anymore. They can't use that same feminine energy to get themselves ahead. But guess what? They didn't seem to have a problem or be on their high horse or be so virtuous back then. Where was their support for Meryl Streep and the people who came before them back then? Where were they riding on this whole this whole idea of, we need to be so powerful and women should be held at this higher level and we're all warriors and we're all this and that. Where were they then when I saw them whipping their tops off at the Playboy Mansion for $100? All those girls were doing stuff like that back then. And even these girls that you see that are working for Disney now and all these things, they too all had their time. They all had their moment. And they're being told what to say because now they're trying to groom themselves for new roles. But let's talk about that for a second. You spend your every waking moment as a starlet in Hollywood doing anything and everything that you can to look beautiful, to be skinnier than the next person, they invented sizes so that you could be a 00. These women are out there, never looking a hair out of place, never being anything but perfection so that they can get that fair princess role and take it from the girls who probably have more talent than they do, or at least as much, but are not nearly as pretty. And guess what? They are working it. And that's okay. That's okay. But don't condemn people who put you where you are because of that. Don't take magic away from little girls and little boys because all of a sudden you're embarrassed about choices you made in the past and now you want to be up on your high horse and act as if you're some kind of a victim. You're not a victim. You're a multimillionaire who has no idea what it means to not know how to pay your rent, where your food's going to come from, how you're going to get your car out of the repo lot. You don't know any of that stuff because you even had, when you were starting out, you had a mommy and daddy to help support you while you went to auditions and pay your bills and all those things because you could not have done it without help. So for those of us who maybe are looking for a Prince Charming or a princess in our life, we're not looking for them because we are looking for them because we need them to rescue us. We're looking for them because we might need a helping hand or we might need someone to support us emotionally or just because we want that strength and we want that companionship in our life. Why is that any different for what these stars represent? You look straight at the front, at the very beginning of Cinderella, when the story opening. Have a look at this. I want you to read this. Because this, at the very opening credits of the old movie, it even speaks about what the movie is about. Have a look. These princesses, to me, helped me dream of hope and things that I could be and be big. And I had a good life growing up. It wasn't like for me what it has been for some people who didn't grow up with any privilege at all. I loved those princesses. I loved believing in magic. Little children have that right to want the fairy tale. They have the right. What's wrong with wanting to have a good life? What's wrong with wanting to have a happy marriage? What's wrong with wanting to have a companion? Why are we teaching our little girls and boys that this is wrong? Why are we doing that? And who are you to say that you're going to take my childhood memories and magic away from me, or from my grandchildren, or that you're going to diminish what that meant to my memory as a child growing up? Little children need magic. We live in a really crappy world sometimes. And what is wrong with wanting to have a little bit of hope, with wanting to have a little bit of, like these princesses taught us about love. They taught us about sacrifice. They taught us about kindness. They taught us how to dream. They taught us that we can be bigger than what we are. They taught us that we can come out of if we're in a bad situation in life, that we can find our way out, that there's hope. That's what they taught us. Have you actually even watched the damn videos or the movies? It's insane to me that I'm even having this conversation about this. I never in my wildest dreams did I think that I'd be sitting on YouTube channel in my 50s defending Disney princesses, but here we are. Not in any of my childhood or growing up do I ever remember thinking that I needed a handsome prince to take me away. None of these movies did that for me. They didn't do any of that. In fact, they made me want to strive to have things, and I knew that I had to get them on my own. I did get them on my own. My handsome prince I make 2.5 times what my handsome prince makes. That's not what I married him for. That's not why he's in my life. He's in my life because he supports me, and he has a good job. It's no disrespect to him. He's a hardworking man. It's just my job pays more. But, I work really hard too. I support myself. I take care of myself, but it doesn't mean that I didn't want the fairy tale. It doesn't mean that there weren't times struggling when I was a single mom with little boys before I met Peter. It doesn't mean that there weren't days that I went, God, I do wish I had someone to just help me or to take me away for even a little bit. Yeah, I did. But it doesn't mean that I wanted someone to own me. It doesn't mean that I wanted someone to take my voice. It just means that I wanted someone with me on this journey through life. Somebody that I could cry at when I came home and had a hard day. Somebody who would support me when I do crazy things like start a YouTube channel in my 50s. That is what my handsome prince does for me. My handsome prince was there for me when my daddy died, and I felt so scared and lost and alone, and he was my rock. Yeah, I needed him. And it's okay to need people in your life. Since when did we have to become so independent that we don't rely on anybody? We don't need no man. We don't need no anybody but ourselves. Bullshit. Everybody needs somebody sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with that. Why are we teaching our little girls and little boys that they can't express emotion, that they can't be needy sometimes, that they can't hope and dream, and that they have to only rely on themselves? You don't have to only rely on yourselves. There's people in your life who love you and want to be there for you and want to help you. Why are we trying to push that agenda and push that message? Every single one of those girls who are preaching all this talk had someone behind them to support them and help them. They all had somebody in Hollywood, somebody behind them, a publicist, somebody who was their knight in shining armor. They didn't do it on their own. They did not do it all on their own. You are not going to convince me that every person in this world at some point in time, no matter what gender you are or what gender you associate with, or whether it's fluid or whatever, there's not one person is going to tell me that they haven't wanted to look for love, that they haven't been lonely and wanted their own version of the fairy tale. They might not believe in love anymore. They might have been hurt. They might think it doesn't exist now because they have had heartache, but it doesn't mean they didn't want it. It doesn't mean it's not still inside of them, because that's human nature. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, I just think it's so sad. It's sad for these women as well. It's sad for them too, if that's what they are being trained to think or being told that they have to say. I just don't believe they believe it. I really, truly don't believe that they believe one word of what they're saying, except the ones who maybe are brainwashed. Maybe they really are just brainwashed into thinking that, because clearly when you see some of the interviews with Elizabeth Swann, Keira Knightley, you see her like she is on her high horse. And that other little idiot that is playing Snow White now, I never ever seen anybody so smug and arrogant as those. At least her and Keira Knightley are so smug about who they think they are.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
I'm not saying they didn't work hard for the things that they have. I'm just telling you, they had a foothold. They had somebody to help them along the way. They didn't just do it on their own, you know? And they're so, you know, that's another thing. Hollywood celebrities are surrounded by handlers who are paid to tell them anything and everything they want to hear. They are paid to tell them they're the most beautiful, that they're the most intelligent, that they're the hardest working, that they're the best actor. They're paid, they get paid to have friends, basically. Their friends are paid to work for them. And, you know, so I think maybe after a while they do start believing. It's really crazy to me. It's a whole different world that you and I are not part of. It's a whole different world. Now, I'll tell you what, these girls have made an absolute fortune off this franchise, off this Disney franchise, and shame on Disney for allowing this to happen, especially to the founding princess of their franchise. Snow White was the very first princess in the franchise, and Walt Disney himself is rolling in his grave right now, I can assure you of it, because it's not even the storyline. I have an issue with the storyline as much as I do the fact that this woman's been ragging on it. And you know, you stand on the shoulders of the people who came before you. How dare you? How dare you smite them just because you're a smug little ass that your handlers taught you that you could just say whatever the hell you want to say with no repercussions. Well, guess what? There's repercussions, because the world is pissed. Everybody on the internet pissed as me. I'm not the only one who's been. I know I'm crazy. I know my hair looks crazy tonight. I know that this is all about a fictitious thing. And you're probably going, Holly, calm down. You're getting a little wild. But I am mad about it, because it's the principle behind it. I get so tired. I think there's probably more to it. I get so tired of seeing these people in these positions of privilege talking down or acting as if they are so friggin' virtuous when they're not. I know what it takes to get ahead in Hollywood. You're not so damn virtuous. You know, guys, I think that I get so fired up about this stuff because I just can't take the hypocrisy of it. I hate hypocrisy. I hate it. And judgmental people. You know, I always believe if you've never walked into someone's shoes, you can't pass judgment on them. And I still love to believe in the fairy tale. I still have hope. I still dream. I still do all those things, and so should you. You have every right, and your children have every right to keep dreaming and keep wanting the fairy tale, because that's sometimes the best part of our day, you know? And it's also, it helps keep us going in the darkest of the times. And that's really what these characters were about, to just bring hope for a better life, for a better future, and just maybe let us escape for just a little while, you know? I'm Holly. I'm your fun sister. I'm telling you, it's just fine for you to dream. Don't listen to those fake Disney princesses. Please like, subscribe, and share.